Hey everyone, Hunter here at Weather on the Go. Welcome back to another weather forecast here. And we're going to be talking about more winter weather in the form of some Arctic cold with some temperatures and wind chills. We're also going to be talking about more snow and the potential for more snow even as we go into March. So we're going to be going through the forecast step by step for you here. If you are new here to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We are just less than 300 subscribers away from 128,000. You want to help me get there, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll keep you covered. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, especially if you do like it and you find it informative, and share this video with friends, family, and on social media. I truly do appreciate it. So let's look at our temperature anomalies here on our Thursday, February 20th, and notice the coldest of our air is across portions of the central southern plains and extending like an arm out here across the eastern United States. These are temperatures in the purples and pinks that are 40 to as much as 50 degrees below normal, where we should see them for February 20th standards. And notice as we go through the morning hours today across the central U.S., we woke up to temperatures, yes, these are air temperatures, in the double digits below zero from Kansas and Missouri on northward, and some areas even into North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and Nebraska waking up around 20 degrees below zero here this morning. Wind chills, when you factor in a little bit of a slight breeze out there, yes, it did knock those wind chill values down to widespread 20 to 30 degrees below zero, even 35 below at times up here into North and South Dakota this morning. Now, this afternoon, we're going to warm up a lot more than we have the past couple of afternoons. We're going to be seeing most of our air temperatures above zero, so that's a marked change of what we have seen over the past few afternoons. That is a nice step in the right direction, but our wind chills will still remain a handful of degrees below zero this afternoon across the Dakotas, Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, parts of Illinois, even into Kansas, and can't even rule out a few areas below zero like Tulsa, Oklahoma there in northeastern Oklahoma this afternoon. What about the western U.S.? We woke up to temperatures in eastern portions of Montana, eastern Wyoming, and eastern Colorado off the front range around 5 to as much as 15 degrees below zero. Our wind chills this morning were around 35 degrees below zero up there in eastern portions of Montana. Now this afternoon, we're going to be warming our temperatures up pretty decently again across Montana, Wyoming, and eastern Colorado there. Areas that started well below zero should climb above zero, at least into the single digits, even some areas into the teens this afternoon, but our wind chill values will still remain very close to zero across those areas. Now, looking down into Southern California, Arizona, and New Mexico, temperatures will be warming up quite nicely this afternoon down there. San Diego, Phoenix, over there into southwestern New Mexico, well into the 60s and 70s this afternoon is expected. Into the eastern United States, here are your low temperatures we started off with. You can pick the areas that have the deeper snowpack up here in western Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, upstate New York, and western Massachusetts there. We started off a few degrees below zero in the single digits below zero with wind chills this morning that were around 15 degrees below zero there. This afternoon, we're going to be warming our temperatures up in those areas into the teens and low 20s, and our wind chills this afternoon there should be around 0 degrees, maybe a few degrees above zero this afternoon. The Appalachians could see some single digits below zero wind chills this afternoon. Now, enough of the temperature talk. We know it's cold out there. Let's look at the precipitation. Very quiet here for Thursday, February 20th. A little bit of some snow squalls happening across eastern Ohio into Pennsylvania, western New York, down into West Virginia and the eastern part of the United States. We also have some snow in the higher elevations of Utah into southwestern Wyoming and western Colorado as well. That will be dumping some pretty heavy snow as it pivots across the Rockies there. And notice as we go into tonight that snowfall will continue to meander further east across the eastern seaboard, and we're just left with some lake effect snow bands at times across New York State and up there into portions of Ontario. And then as we go through Friday, not really much happening. Very quiet conditions across the lower 48 until we get to around Friday evening, and we see another storm system bringing some heavy rain into Washington State like Seattle, into Oregon like Portland, Eugene, and Medford, and then higher elevation snows, especially for Washington State on north into British Columbia. That is going to be in the higher elevations, and we could see some hefty snow even moving into northern Idaho, western Montana as we go to the start of the weekend there on Saturday morning. As far as precipitation is concerned, we are going to be seeing some precipitation here across Washington State and Oregon. Again, Seattle southward to Portland, Eugene, and Medford, Oregon. We could be seeing upwards to an inch of rain there. Otherwise, a lot of this other precipitation across the United States will be in the form of snowfall. And we could have some heftier snow in the higher elevations of Utah into Colorado here, especially central Colorado outside of Denver. Could be seeing upwards to a foot and a half of snow, 12 to 18 inches here as we start off the weekend there on Saturday, February 22nd. And some snow squalls and lake effect snow that could bring around 1 to 2 inches of snow across Pennsylvania, the Appalachians into New York State up here. If you get into a heavier lake effect snow band, could be seeing isolated amounts over 3 inches or more as we go into the weekend. You know how those lake effect snow bands are. Now, as we go to the weekend temperature wise, here are your temperature anomalies. The warmer air is in the orange and reds. Notice that's spilling in from the Pacific over here into Alaska, western Canada, into the western third of the United States. We're still hanging on to the colder than normal temperatures, at least the anomalies across the eastern United States this weekend, but it's going to be an eventful weekend if you're further north. So going into the weekend, we do have some drizzle, some showers down here into the Rio Grande, South Texas. That will not be severe, just some pesky rainfall down there through the weekend. Bigger storm system coming in across the Pacific Northwest into Washington State, Oregon, Northern California, getting us drenched with some rainfall. A lot of the snow tracks will be further to the north, some clipper systems moving across Canada with a lot of energy. That'll continue through your Monday morning on February 24th. Here's the heavy rainfall here. So if we don't get a lot of rainfall with this late week system, we're going to get a lot more across the Pacific Northwest with our early week system going into next weekend. So you can see here, we're looking at the potential for 1 to 3 inches of rain from Seattle down to Portland, Eugene, and Medford, northwestern California. And we could see some coastal Texas rainfall around 1 to 2 inches there as well. We'd actually need the rainfall in some of those areas. And then looking at the snowfall here across the United States and southern Canada, yeah, it's going to be mostly southern Canada where we have that clipper system track. Otherwise, areas in the northern Rockies like Idaho, western Montana, western Wyoming could see a few inches of snow. Like we go up into Canada here, western coastline of British Columbia could be seeing upwards to 3 feet of snow, maybe a 1 to 3 inch snow swath there across Yukon, the Northwest Territories, northern Alberta, Saskatchewan, down here into Manitoba, and then eventually into Ontario and Quebec. Our friends in southern Canada will be enjoying some lighter snow as we go through the weekend. Going into next week, this is the last week of February, going from Monday, February 24th through Saturday, March 1st. Notice we are going to be seeing the warmer temperatures spilling east with time, so they start across the western third, and then we'll see that mild Pacific air oozing east into the central and eventually trying to get into the eastern U.S. next week. But it's going to be fighting a trough out here, and a trough brings active weather. So notice the ridge out west, that's the culprit for our warming temperatures, but we're going to have a trough in the northeast Pacific, and it's going to move a storm system over top of the ridge, drop it from northwest to southeast into the Great Lakes region, the Ohio Valley in the northeast, and picking it up with some colder air with this trough here in the eastern U.S. So we look at the jet stream orientation, and it does make sense where we have a ridge out across the west, the jet stream over top of that, kind of like a highway for storms, and it's going to move the storm up to the north toward Canada and then drop it down here the jet stream from the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and Ohio Valley, and then eventually turning up into the northeast as we go into next week. Looking at the precipitation anomalies going into next week between Monday, February 24th and Saturday, March 1st, that makes sense with a lot of precipitation here for British Columbia. You're on the apex of that ridge. And then those storm systems will slide down from northwest to southeast, across the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley into the northeast. That's where we have more of the green anomalies for above average precipitation for that 5-day period, whereas the deep south will be drying out because we don't have a lot of moisture getting that far south. There will be some, but there will not be a lot of moisture like we see further off to the north. And quite honestly, we need to dry out across places like Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arkansas, areas that have been just saturated with moisture. That is certainly some good news. news. So looking at the European model, we got a couple scenarios for you here as we go into Monday, February 24th and Tuesday, February 25th. We do have some clipper systems bringing some rain and or snow showers further to the north. Then as we go into Wednesday, we got a little bit of a system trying to develop on the European model right over Chicago with some rain and then some snow maybe for Wisconsin and lower Michigan. And then that could turn into a wintry mix or a snowstorm for interior parts of the Northeast or southeastern Canada, such as southern Ontario and Quebec as we go into next Friday. And then we have a bigger clipper that could bring some snow down to the Great Lakes next weekend. And looking here at the GFS, the American model guidance, very in line with that weak clipper system moving across the Great Lakes as we go into early next week, Monday the 24th, Tuesday the 25th. So that is an agreement with the European model. Looking at the GFS, notice it does have that system maybe a little bit further south with the low track, but brings in some rain and or snow to the Midwest, the Ohio Valley by that Wednesday, Thursday timeframe, 26th, 27th of February, and then more of a snow track for the GFS model from Maine back down through New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, down into Pennsylvania and the Appalachians there in West Virginia before that kicks out. And it is an agreement with a strong clipper coming into the Great Lakes on March 1st, such as the European model is showing. So if you remember our later December pattern back around Christmas or maybe a little bit before, it's kind of what we're reverting back to with our snow track here as we go into the last week of February. We got the snow around the Great Lakes and into interior parts of the Northeast, that is northwest of the I-95 corridor, with at least the potential for a few inches of snow on the European model. The GFS a little bit more aggressive with those totals here from Maine into New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, and northern Pennsylvania, and then down the Appalachians there into West Virginia, and then of course the upper Great Lakes region with a few more inches of snow there through the last week there of February. If you look at the mean, this is the average and most likely scenario. It does agree that the upper Great Lakes region, such as the UP of Michigan, northern Wisconsin, northern lower Michigan, and then most of interior New England, such as northern Pennsylvania, New York, especially upstate New York, into Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, especially northern Maine, and then southeastern Canada, okay? So we're talking more southern Ontario and Quebec. That's our snow track as we go into the next week time frame. But as we go into early March, the cold air doesn't go away, right? Winter wants to renew its stay across the United States and southeastern Canada, and it could be helped by any snowpack that we have that additionally falls as we go into next week, kind of keeping us cooler across the eastern U.S., and that's with a trough across the east too, helping us stay cool. Big ridge up here into the Northeast Pacific that is making us warmer up here into Alaska, Yukon, the Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. Our temperatures will be warmer into the first 7-8 days there of March, and that means it's going to force the cooler temperatures into the eastern U.S. and eastern Canada with our trough, and that coincides with some active weather. So when you see green, and which means above average precipitation, and you see blue, which means below normal temperatures, you put 2 and 2 together, yeah, you could definitely see some wintry weather. And notice a lot of the precip showing up here on the European extended ensemble guidance, showing heavier rain, maybe watching out for some severe weather from the Gulf Coast states and Dixie Alley into the deep southeast. And then we're looking at more of a snow track, maybe a little bit further south, but we can see from the Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and especially a big footprint here. You can see the purple showing up in the Northeast. That is a good signal for some heavier snow even into the first week of March here. And if you don't believe that, well, look at the GFS extended ensemble. It actually is pretty much similar, maybe just a little bit further south, as it has a colder output than the European ensemble guidance, but you get the idea. The Midwest, the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, and the Northeast, southeastern Canada get the chance for snowstorms into the first week there of March. I hope you did find this video, and I hope you did find this video informative. And if you did, like the video by giving it a thumbs up, share this video with friends, family, and on social media. Subscribe to my channel here at Weather on the Go as we continue to provide you with accurate weather forecasts as we move further toward the spring and beyond. And we're just less than 300 subscribers away from 128,000. You want to help me get there? Again, subscribe to the channel. I definitely appreciate it. If you want to leave a like or leave a comment rather down below, you guys can comment down below my video with any questions about the weather and such as that. That's all I have for you today, folks. We may or may not have a video this evening. It remains to be seen, kind of a 50-50 shot here. We'll have to see what the midday models come in as, and if they come in active, we'll have a video this evening. If they don't, then we'll have a video again tomorrow around this time. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your Thursday out there.